Okay, so it's been glued and clamped and clamped and glued and dried, and I mean, my gosh, I think it's stuck together if nothing else. The next thing we need to do is we need to go over and mill this area down with our little Forstner bit, and then we'll come and start tuning and making the track areas and what have you. I've tested some of it. I mean, you can blow through it and here's some air coming out. I guess that's a good thing. It's coming out the bottom. And then the top, I hadn't tried it. Hey, it makes a sound there too. How about that? So we've got air coming out of the right places, hopefully not coming out of any of the wrong places. And we're going to go ahead and get started on making it play. Okay, so I guess the first thing we should do is go ahead and bring this area down, just a little bit. As is the way I like to make my flutes. Truthfully, that's probably deep enough, but boy, that looks cool, doesn't it? So I normally like to taper this area here on the edge of the sound edge of the flute, the sound hole, so that it doesn't create any obstructions or any kind of difficulty for the air to blow across the edge. And I like to do that normally with a sander, so I figure while I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and make this mouthpiece the size I want it to be. Let's do that first. This part can be a little tricky. Sure made it look nice though. You have that grain of the bark and the wood kind of blending together. Makes it look pretty cool. Okay, so we're burning the track in here as I usually like to. Most of you probably have seen a couple of our videos before and know that this is how we usually make flutes, is by burning the track, and we have set up tools that basically we use for all that. And then we burn each one of the holes out. If you haven't seen any of our other videos until this one, or if you've only seen a few of them, please go back to our YouTube channel page, and when you go there you can search for track or tuning or fingerings or anything like that, and it'll come up in the search information if you search within our channel. And I mean, we have countless videos on how to do this and what you need to do next and all that kind of stuff. At this point it's just basically proof and concept, I guess, in making this design flute. I think I should probably make a special little block to go on top. Maybe like a little bird of some kind would be a good one. What do you think? So let's go to the next one. A branch type flute. This is definitely a keeper. Like I said, we have lots of videos on doing this part here. And I don't see a need to focus on it too much. I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, but I usually blow at the same time this thing starts smoking. Helps keep the smoke out of my eyes. Still got a little ways to go. I'd be willing to bet it'd make a sound right now. Where's that fancy block of mine? I've got one here. Maybe I can just rob that one off of this flute for a second. My little tester block. Oh, how about that? Not quite long enough. That's a first. Let's try this one. There we go. That'll fit. I'll get myself a clamp here. How about that? Does make a sound. Not a pretty one yet, but it will. One thing I may not have shown in some of my videos is the little filing technique. I think I did that in one of them. But filing right here with a little jeweler's file. If you can get that a little closer on the camera. Does that look pretty good? You just file that at a slight angle on the edge of the track. It will actually cause it to play in a number of ways better. Oh, my magnets got stuck to this thing. I usually do that because the heat causes them to release. I have to use that tool one more time. What I'm doing right now is burning the mouthpiece into it. If you burn the hole in the mouthpiece area, it causes less friction and less resistance, and it allows it to play a little smoother. I'll this thing against my leg. You can always come back and make this thing look better with a little white sandpaper. I guess it probably wouldn't hurt. Sometimes, if I were doing this kind of thing, I would not consider using a drill. Because you never know what you're going to loosen up or get to come out of there that you don't want to. Considering that your flute is crooked. On one of these natural branch flutes. So if it's crooked, the track you made may not have been that straight for the mouthpiece going through the air chamber here. So you may mess up if you do that. But I think I remember our track being reasonably straight. The biggest problem is if the track goes in like this and then goes that way or this way, as you're drilling, the pith that you're coring out of it gets clogged up into the turn, and it makes it to where it's just basically not going to breathe. This one's still a little bit difficult to blow through, not as smooth as I like it, so I'm probably going to wind up using my 5/16 like I normally do. This is just a 1/4 inch rod, and I'll probably use that 5/16 and make the mouthpiece air passage a little bit deeper, larger in diameter. I think we're done with this tool. Let's go ahead and go for, I guess I'll put my flattening tool up. And while we're waiting on that, since we're not aiming for any specific key, I'm going to make some of the fingerings a little cleaner. Got lots of embers blowing off of this thing. Little flaming pieces of debris. But I don't want to catch my shop on fire. Because of the turns too, it's almost impossible to see in there. But it looks nice what I can see. Getting close. What would be really handy is if we had a sanding drum. And I've got some sanding drums, like this guy here is about a 3/4 inch. It's too large to go inside of there. But one like a Dremel, if you could get it, that would go in there and bend and turn. And some of you are probably thinking, yeah, I could put a Dremel head on the flex shaft. It's not going to be pretty, so try it if you like. However, it's not something that works out. I wish it could. It would be wonderful if it did. It would help smooth this guy out inside and ensure a more uniform size and the location of the fingerings and all that kind of stuff, but just not convenient. This wood's almost sparking like it's got gunpowder in it too. Whew. It's just something else. And the seam doesn't look too bad. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Can you see that in there? It's not too shabby. A lot of people, like I say, go ahead and peel the bark off, but this time I thought, well, let's leave it on and see what happens. So, last fingering we're going to do with this rod. And because of the bark on this flute, I can see a benefit in using another fingering size to kind of countersink. So, let's see if we need to tune with the 5/16 rod. I already mentioned I was going to stick it in the mouthpiece area anyway, because I like to have a good open throughway there. We'll do that, and then we'll see what tuning we need to do. Just tuning this one by ear, nothing fancy. And then we may recess the fingerings just a little bit, kind of inset them so that our fingers can close off, because right here there's some bark that is kind of misshapen, and with that bark raising up, it may make it difficult to seal that hole off all the way. These others not so bad, but this last two are pretty rough for that. So I think we'll probably want to burn like a indentation into it for that. We definitely need to get some more air passage going through there, because it's not breathing the way that I prefer it to breathe. Something a lot of people don't talk about too is how the flute accepts your exhale when you breathe through it. Some people really prefer like a River King flute. The River King flute has a large open mouthpiece like this guy, and with that large open mouthpiece, you can put your mouth on it in just a small way. You don't have to, put the whole thing in your mouth. So we have some River King flutes that get, pretty big. However, with this size flute and with everything, you can control how much air. It's pretty easy to see. Some people, they, and I know there's going to be like a dubstep version of me making that face just now somewhere on the internet. It'll be okay. But it's pretty easy to see that you have a large open hole mouthpiece, and there are a few professionals that request me to make a hardwood flute with a large open hole mouthpiece, because it's more conducive to playing, and really makes a skilled flute player able to do some things on the flute that you couldn't do if you have a small mouthpiece like this. This is perfect for beginners. Now myself, I think at the point of my flute playing, I can probably play either one either way, but I do agree that the larger open mouthpiece does give you more room to adjust. Maybe you don't need that much room to adjust. So, I don't know. What my dad used to say, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Okay, this guy's getting pretty toasty. handle's always so hot on this sucker. A lot of you out there watching our videos thinking, yeah, there's a simple solution for that. Get a longer pair of pliers. Did that for a while. Has its ups and downs. Makes a lot of noise going that way, but I think that's one of the benefits. So we're going to put our bear stamp tool on here. I know y'all have probably seen that on a couple of our flutes. First though, let's make this mouthpiece area. That's a little deeper. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to breathe better because there may be a stopped up area right here which we've got to contend with. Yep. So Charlie's going to break out the long drill bit. That should make a difference. I don't normally use this one unless I have to. Okay, this is where I normally say, let's see what happens. The worst thing that could happen is I could drill through the side of the flute, and I really don't want to do that. Maybe I can blow some of that out. Nothing really happening. Kind of worrisome. This is where we should go to the please stand by screen. Da, 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 da. We'll be right back. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. This is what makes for a long day too. What's really bad is when it happens on a mini flute. Oh my gosh, and you have it all day on one tiny little flute. It feels like we've made some progress. Maybe not. Still not breathing quite like I would like it to. Came through the side. Wait, cut! Take that off the script and let's back it up. Get that stunt flute in there. I think we can probably patch that up, but I know not to drill anymore. I did know it was a possibility. Maybe I can use this to my advantage. To get out of trusty for this. We'll pry that up just a little bit. Let's take this bit off. One of my customers, the other day I was on the phone with, he said, I seen you sweating in the shop in there. I thought, oh no. When we make videos, a lot of times we'll turn off everything so that it's quiet and peaceful. That includes the hum of a lot of really comfortable machines. I think that did something. I'm not sure quite what it was that it did just yet. But it blows a lot better. Would you mind handing me some of that clear, adhering, super coagulant gel? Did I mention it was hot in here? I think maybe it has gone to my brain. It would be nice to be playing some music in the background right now so that they didn't have to focus on the sound of my voice. If it's driving me crazy, it stands to reason. This right here really isn't that bad. But at least I predicted it, right? Knew it could possibly happen. This flute isn't going to anybody anyway. It's a personal flute I'm going to keep, so I figured, hey, we'll just seal it right up. I don't know if y'all can hear my beagles in the background. That's my goofy one barking. Her name's Frida. Any of you guys know we have beagles, but now you know. We have two of them, Snoopy and Frida, and they're playing a game of keep away. So even with the door open for ventilation, and all the cooling systems down, and all the quiet that we could possibly muster, and still let you hear the sounds of the birds in the background, Frida gets to make her presence. I believe we may be to the point of being able to hear this flute make an actual sound. It's a little more than a squeak. I can't even remember where I glued it at. A lot of you are thinking, ha, that's very funny. It's true. I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually right there. This is 400 grit. It should just kind of clean it up real nice. Not any major issues. And I think maybe I'll put some on the inside too, just to be on the safe side. Which finishes off that bottle of super glue. Okay, so here we go. Might as well make it right. Do a little of this. Check some of that. And let's borrow my flute block off of this other flute again. Oh wait, before we do, let's go ahead and put the old trusty stamp on it. How about that? Gosh, it smells like a campfire. I think that turned out pretty nice. The maiden test. Everybody cross your fingers for me. Now the thing that's going through my head is, should we scrap this video and start over? Let's see where we're at in here. We know something's going on. I can see in there pretty well up to that point. Got a little bit of a track. Camera lady, would you mind handing me another brand new bottle of that super coagulant special handy dandy flappy doo? Thank you. Now, a lot of you are thinking, oh no, that's what my flute's been sounding like. If his flute's going to sound that way, we're in trouble. What I'm going to do is run some super glue down the seam to see if it leaks out anywhere, because it sounds to me like there's an air leak. And pretty commonly that's what they sound like. It sounds like it can play maybe the top note or the top 2 notes or something like that, but it won't play everything. And it's not, there it goes, running out the bottom. And since it's running out the bottom and I haven't seen it come out of the seam yet, let's head back the other direction. If you noticed, I put it in this fingering here and let it run all the way down the length of the flute. Now at this point, if I let it run all the way this part of the flute, we may have a bit of difficulty if it runs into the track, so we don't want to do that. I would love to see it back here at the track, but not running out of the track. I don't see anything happening, so I'm going to shoot just a little bit more in there. And I'm holding it so that the seam is right in line with the trail that that super glue would be making inside of the flute right now. See, there's a pretty sounding bird. I know you heard that. Probably hear a little bit of our radio going in the background, but it's not a problem. Okay, and I see super glue inside. I don't see anywhere it leaked out, however. So we'll flip it over and do the other seam. So now we'll let it run down the length of the flute this way and see if it leaks out of any of the seam here. And if it does, you don't want to let it drip on your eyes, so keep it away from your face. And I mean you hypothetically, you would never want to make flutes, right? So here comes our little trail of super glue. And I haven't seen it leak out any, which is kind of disheartening because that means there may be a leak in it somewhere that I didn't predict. Usually it's a seam. Now let's go back the other direction. Could be one this way. Another thing, if the inside of the flute is very porous, like if there's a lot of giant air hole looking pits or something, it'll do something similar to this. I've had this problem with a pine flute I made recently that I made out of some reclaimed pine. It was really beautiful wood, but it's going to have to be completely sealed before it will play, which is a shame. While we're here and my rod's hot, let's go ahead and because this is a small inside diameter flute, it is also possible that the length of the flute is just a little bit too much. Now if you notice, from the bottom hole here to right there where the bottom of the flute is really quite tiny. So it's a possibility, my fingers get stuck together, it's a possibility that the flute is too long. It's just very unlikely. So let's see if anything else happens. Closing these fingers off. These ones I know I can close off. Still having a problem. When in doubt, check everything out. Also, you don't want super glue to drip on your foot. Nope, had drip on my foot one time. Glued my toe right to my shoe. See if that made any difference. We're starting to get clogged up there. I think we need to go back and reburn our track just a little bit. Gosh, there's so many different things that can happen, you know. And this problem sounds exactly like one that some people have emailed about. I said, hey, all you have to do is this. And truthfully, that's usually all you have to do. But in our case, let's go ahead and heat up this other rod. Just to get it cool this one off. Let's start on the new one. So I think otherwise, what we've done that's made the most headway is I've cleaned out this air passage and adjusted the pitch of it just a little bit. Pitch, not the sound, but the pitch of basically how the air path blows the air across the sound hole, the sound edge right here. And otherwise, these couple of notes sound pretty good. I know that a lot of you, though, like I said, have had a similar issue, and you've gotten to where the flute makes a couple of notes. It's usually the top fingerings, and then it doesn't do anything else. A lot of times, it's not just the length of the flute. Sometimes it's the inside and what the inside looks like. If you know the inside of your flute looks pretty smooth and it's pretty evenly shaped and designed, then you should be mostly good there. In our case, I believe the track is a lot of the problem. And one other minor thing that has happened is the knot, which they typically do that, has opened up a little bit. You can kind of see where there's a crack right there in the middle of the knot. So I'm just going to go over and seal that crack, and then I'm going to go ahead and seal the whole knot. As I mentioned, this was made out of a dry piece of, or excuse me, a green piece of wood, so it hasn't completely dried yet. A lot of times, flute makers that make branch flutes, I believe, a lot of times they'll seal the flute just to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen, because they're not as predictable. This type of flute is just not as predictable as a standard flute that you would cut and glue together and do that kind of thing, or even one that you would drill all the way through. There's a level of error here that can take place that is just not easily seen. So there's some things to concern yourself with when making a branch flute. Of course, the first and foremost would be to make sure that the seal, where it's glued together, all sealed up really nice and tight. Ooh, look at my pointing tool, it's pretty nice. First part of the video went like gangbusters. You are thinking, wow, this thing will be over in no time. Just step out of the norm just a little bit and it bites you on the behind. Whew. Wow. I hadn't had a flute kick my butt like that in a long time. It was challenging, I should say, anyway. So I want to give you is it a synopsis or a synapsis? One of them ain't firing right now. Anyway, I'm going to give you a synopsis of what basically I did. I had to go in and seal the seams on the inside, as you know. One other thing that I noticed was that as I played, my fingers could cover these holes up pretty well, but not all of them, as I had mentioned before. So I sanded over the top of them really lightly, and you can probably kind of tell. I mean, I know it's getting dark. It's been a long day. But anyway, I sanded them down a little bit, and the pads of my fingers close in much, much better. One of the other things that I did was I reduced the size of my sound hole here. I made it a little narrower, and there's a way to do that. Yes, we have a video on that. If you go to our YouTube channel and go to the little search feature inside of our channel, you can search and find just ways to repair the track. And there's so many different techniques, and I used a couple of them on this one to get him going. Anyway, so that having been said, I went ahead and fashioned him just a flat block that I'm going to put on top of it for now, because I'm imagining a little bird will mount real nice up there. And clamping it down with a little bit bigger, heavier clamp helped it to seal off a lot better. I think it turned out pretty good. It's not as loud as our other flutes, however, considering the way the inside of it is made out of a porous piece of open wood that, you know, just can't do what it can do. I think it's pretty nice. So the next thing I'm going to do is something I haven't done to a piece of wood that has a bark on the outside of it in a while, not that I can recall. So I'm going to go ahead and oil it and wax it like I do everything, and let's see if that makes it look or sound or do anything any different. Those of you that may not know, or maybe for the first time have decided to watch us make a flute, the oil that I'm putting on this is a mixture of sunflower, tea tree, and peppermint oil. Each of the oils have their own purpose and reason that I use them, and they do a mighty fine job of making our flute do what we need it to do. Now the oil's running through just like I wanted it to. And I don't want to zoom in on it because the floor of this shop is just a real disaster today. We're in the process of doing some things. But I would like to let you know that one of the two beagles decided to come and lay down in the shop. She is currently laying on her back with her feet sticking straight up in the air in a pile of sawdust. That can't be good. She's going to need a bath. So this is our flute wax. This is a bulk version of it, and what I have done is I've basically wiped it on the outside of the flute. I'm going to wipe some of the excess off because there's only so much that you can put up with, you know. Most of you probably never played that video game before. But let's see. It's looking pretty sharp, I think. It just needs a little bird totem on the top of it, and it'll be ready to go. Yeah. Now, I'm almost regretting not having taken the bark off of it. Look at the pretty color of that wood. I know you can see that. It's kind of a yellowish, whitish color. Really, really nice. Let's see. So that's got most of that. Put the block back on it and hope for the best. Let's see. So it turned out pretty good, I think. I hadn't put them on the tuner yet. I know we had a predicted tone that we were shooting for. I know it's not an A. It's probably closer to a C, I'm thinking. Actually, much closer to an A than I thought. It's actually B flat. So he turned out pretty nice, and a nice sounding piece of tree bark. We'll have a picture of him, of course, with his finished totem at the end of this video. However, I think that you guys have endured enough, and I thank you for struggling with me on getting this guy sealed up and getting him to play the way we needed him to. And I think he turned out very well. It really surprised me how nice this branch flute sounds. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Like I said, we have a lot of others if you haven't watched them before. Snoopy, go back to sleep. Anyway, we like to make flute making videos, and we have a whole new batch coming out here pretty soon that are going to be just really, really unique and interesting and amazing. Not to mention more flute playing videos, as we always do. Of course, you know, I hate to put a date on something and then change something down the road and this video allude to something else, but long story short, as I usually say, There is a video we've made that includes videos from a lot of our YouTube subscribers, and I'm really looking forward to launching it. It comes out probably one of the next 2 or 3 videos we post will be that, and I think it'll be very well received. Had a lot of really interesting submissions, some really great ones. And anyway, I hope you guys, like I say, have enjoyed the video. Thanks for bearing with me as we step out of the norm and make a branch flute. We'll be doing a lot of that stepping out of the norm, making some unusual Native American flutes very soon. So make sure you come back and see us, and subscribe to us if you would. But anyway, Charlie Mato-Toyela signing out for BlueBearFlutes.com, and happy flute playing and flute making. We'll see you again very soon.